still prepping right down there. She's good. Let's roll.
Yeah, good.
Live streaming, it's just booting up a little bit.
I didn't get to out the live. I would have put that on my story.
Do it. Let's go.
What up, good people? Triple Crowns Royal Family. We are in the house. Do not adjust your set. Do not adjust your YouTube. Can you adjust the YouTube? You cannot. Probably not. We are here with Ananda Lewis, y'all.
Finally!
Yes, in the house.
Hi.
Up close and personal, y'all. So we expect today that the family is going to be, as they always do, pouring in with questions and comments. We're going to get right into this. The connection for us is, what does health look like to you? What does health look like to you? Brother John, we're going to start with you, brother.
Health looks like to me, well, that could be on the inside or the outside, because you know what you put in is not always good for the insides, right? So health looks like to me a healthy mind, which will lead to good spirits. So I guess that will really start with prayer. What we're eating, what you're I don't want to say ingesting, but consuming, making sure you have good habits of that. I'll stop there. I ain't gonna take up all the answers, all the things. Go ahead, Tyrone. What you think, man? I'm gonna leave come on the plate for you, brother.
Look, you took mines already, right? Definitely, but it's definitely what you put in you. You know, like health is like what you put in you. And I don't know. I guess I look at health in a couple of different ways, but now that I think about that too, it's a lot of stuff. You know what I mean? It's just a whole lot. Is things that happen kind of genetically with us, and a lot of stuff. Health is a lot. I will say that I'm ready to learn and here and excited to know more from our guests. So go ahead, William.
Yes. For me, it is definitely, Brother John, it's a good, healthy prayer life, committing yourself to some quiet time for me with the Most High. Definitely, Tyrone, to your point, what you eat, how you eat, and exercise. But like you said, like you alluded to, Tyrone, I'm excited because Miss Ananda Lewis is going to wow us. I have been tracking her interviews and looking at her channels, and I know she's so humble. She may not even mention the other projects that she has, but it was important to her that she came on when we first spoke, and it was very important for her to talk about health. And it's not only important to her, it's important to all of us. And a lot of us in the Black and Brown communities kind of overlook that. But I do think as a people, we're coming back to understanding the importance of health. So without further ado, Ananda Lewis, what is health to you? And then just start us on your health journey. Why is it so important to you?
Well, I would say health to me, what does health look like? Is that like the overall question? What does health look like to me? Health to me is a holistic process. So by that, I mean, and most of you already are really familiar with the word holistic, it allows all the things that you are to be addressed, the whole you, right? Your mind, your body, your spirit, that whole trifecta to be addressed. And so for me, keeping my body well has a lot to do with being fundamentally informed about what the body needs to be well, right? We have conversations a lot of times about health, and we think we know what healthy means, but when you really look into the research about how the body works and what it fundamentally needs, I know through this health journey I've been on the last 2 years, have discovered that I was really wrong about what I thought my body needed. I think this massive push for protein, and how important that is a lie. I don't think we need as much meat as we are eating. I think when you look at what meat causes and causes to happen in the body, you start to change your perspective on how much of it you need. I don't say we need none, but we certainly don't need the exorbitant amount of meat that we intake on a daily basis. When I think of health and I look at the body component, information is fundamental. When I look at the mind component, mental health is so important. And that term is being thrown around a lot now too, right? But we want to get some clear understandings. For me, mental health means my ability to quickly pull myself in a healthy way out of the traumas that life might throw at me, whether those traumas be minor or major, right? And we all have experienced traumas on the minor and major level. And so your ability to overcome those and continue on your path of life feeling as happy as you can be, right? We're not going to walk around all like, hey, happy all the time. If you know somebody who's like that, that might be fake. I'm just saying nobody's that all the time because life happens, right? But being able to get yourself back to a place of balance and ability to handle those things for me is good mental health and mental stability, right? It's not going through anything, it's recovering when you go through things. And then the emotional health. And I combine the emotional with the spirit. So mind, body, and spirit and emotion to me go together. So what you just said, William, giving yourself some time to be quiet, right? Live in a really noisy world. And the more we're on our phones and the more even apps, even though I have one now, like the more stuff that comes out for us to be involved in, the noisier the world gets around us, right? And in the beginning, not of time, but when human beings first got on this planet, however you believe that happened, things were quiet. You live near water, you would hear rushing water. Okay. Around us, you would hear what animals sounded like, crickets and cicadas and all the noisy animals would be out, but at certain times of the day. But there are times when you would hear nothing as well. And nothingness is important to recreate for yourself. The nothingness of sound is super important because when you don't hear all that other stuff, you finally get to hear yourself and you finally get to hear the voices of whatever higher power you believe in, sending you messages, getting information in, giving you even sometimes, the synchronicities that I notice and the coincidences, which there really are none of, but what we call coincidences, it's like those things are signs and messages and there's symbols and things all around you. But if you're so distracted by all the noise in the world, you'll never see it. You'll never hear it. So the spiritual, emotional component of it for me has a lot to do with being quiet and focusing your mind, which is what meditation is great for, but prayer is also great for that. And being able to commune with your higher self and all the highness connected to that.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. I was gonna say I saw a post that you had, and you had I'll just put it like this: you had an older picture of yourself.
Yeah.
What was it then, and then how it's going now.
Right.
And I don't presume that this is your optimal holistic health self, but obviously you've made some strides from where you were to where you are or where you're going to be. So my question is, why? Why did it start for you? You know what I mean? People could have said, oh, well, she'll need to do a thing or whatever the case may be. What brought you to your health journey?
It's interesting you bring up people because I think people's opinions of us are the worst thing we could have access to, right? What someone else may or may not think has to be completely irrelevant to you. And it's almost impossible to get to that point because we hear so much feedback from other people from the time we're little. And I'm not just talking about like social media here, but like our families, our parents, constantly from the beginning. I do it to my son. It's almost impossible for us not to look at something and decide how we want it to be. Right? Whether that's people or things. So we look at someone and we decide how we want them to be. In the case of my son, I look at him and decide, I don't want you to act like that. I want you to do more of this. All right. I don't want you to do that. I want to do more of this. And so what it amounts to is a tearing down of what they actually are. Right? To replace it with something that we think is better. And when you turn that around and now it's you who someone is doing that to, you get to see how that feels. And why it's so detrimental and damaging. And I see it, and yet I still struggle with it, right? Because it's a kind of innate, automatic thing to do. But I think when people look at me, they have these and look at anybody, right? Like me in this case, but when we look at each other, we have these ideas based on whatever. And I think when people look at me, they have ideas based on what they have known of me over the decades that they've seen me on TV. And that little bit of me that they got to experience is now the totality of what I am, right? But in lieu of having any other information coming in, I get that that's what that is. For me, the way I see myself is really what I try to focus on. And when I saw myself at that before picture, that what I think I was like 211 pounds for all the right reasons, right? I had just created a person. I grow people. It's my superpower. I literally had just created a human being in my body and pushed it out into the world and fed it with my body. Like the profoundness of the process of creating a life in this female body, I can't even put it in words. It is indescribable. And yet it does a number on your body, right? And then that physical body being so different for me than what I was used to over the years, and what I was used to being able to maintain easily, because it changed how easy it was to get it back too. Everything I put it through to create this person left me in a place where I wasn't happy with being in that body, even though I knew why it got that way, even though I knew exactly what I did, even though I had this beautiful, amazing little boy in my arms every reminding me of why. It doesn't, there's something about the societal influence on women's minds in terms of how we believe we're supposed to look. It corrupts any other thought we have of it being okay or how else we think we're supposed to look. It takes away all of that. It's that pressure. It's the outside world validating us. It's from the time you're little, your parents or whoever always been like, oh, you're so pretty, or oh, you're this, always being identified and appreciated for how you look. For women, that it happens to us predominantly, right? I think it happens to everybody, but us more so. That really creates some messed up thinking and messed up ideas in our heads. And I am susceptible, like I'm guilty of the same thing. Like we all are susceptible to it. It happens to all of us. And I didn't feel comfortable in that body anymore. Fortunately, I know that the human body changes. I just saw my body, stretch completely out to make this person. And I knew there was a way to get it back to what I was comfortable in and what I was used to and what I like to see myself as. And so it took me down this journey to figure it out. And it took a lot of infomercial workouts, because I'm an infomercial junkie. I will buy it. If you can convince me on an infomercial, I'm ordering, man. I'm ordering. I've ordered a lot of infomercial workouts. I was doing all the, like all the Beachbody stuff, which are great workouts. Like what I learned in the process of probably the year that it took me to really figure out what worked for me and trying different things, everything works as long as you do it. Right. But I was buying all these systems and then getting through like the first week and being like, oh my gosh, it's too much work, or I can't stick with this food plan. It's not realistic for my, I was busy with the baby. And so at that point, I think he was about 3. He wasn't a baby anymore, but still my full focus was on him and I was busy. So I needed to really find something that allowed me to do it in the amount of time that I had, which was very little. I had very little time to commit to myself. And later, years later, I would look back, like today, I look back and go, wow, prioritizing myself back then was really important. I didn't know how to do that. I was so consumed with motherhood, which, rightfully so in many cases. But what I didn't understand was that if I'm not doing well in whatever way, mind, body, spirit, right? In whatever way I'm not doing well, then this precious child or this relationship or this family or this whatever it is you're pouring into can also not be doing as well. I'm going to do better at all those things that I feel so good about juggling if I'm taking care of myself. And that self-prioritizing is something we lose as women really quickly when we become moms, and really quickly when we get into relationships, whether there's a child involved or not. I think we have this innate sense of caregiving. I know I do, where I just want to take care of, I just want to do for them. And I don't even think about myself. Right. And that can get dangerous. For me, it did get dangerous because I did that for so long and ignored what I should have been doing to take care of my body. I didn't get mammograms because I saw my mom go through breast cancer probably 15 years ago now, but back then it was, more recent. And I was like, she did everything she was supposed to do and this still happened. And it comes from exposures to this, exposures to that, exposures to this. Radiation can cause cancer in the body. So I put together all these ideas in my head. Not all of them are incorrect, by the way, but I put them together in a way that prevented me from being able to do what I needed to do to take care of myself in an effective way, right? So I say all that to say that 2019 in January, I got diagnosed with breast cancer, just like my mom did. And I believe that this elongated amount of stress that I subjected myself to, elongated lack of really prioritizing myself and my health, not going for the screenings like the mammograms, but also not really going to the doctor for my, because I didn't want to leave my baby with anybody, or there were times where I didn't have insurance, you know, things were rocky. And so all these reasons, all these, not really excuses, really reasons, like life happens, stuff happens, right? And you're just doing your best to keep up with it. Looking back, I know that I would have had a different outcome had I prioritized myself. And I know I'm jumping around, but like with the workouts, when I finally found one that worked and I started losing weight, that was me prioritizing myself a little bit, but I didn't expand it to include all of my health being prioritized. And so the breast cancer, the tumor that I found in my breast had been growing that whole time. And I didn't discover it because I was just depending on me feeling around and doing breast checks, which are extremely important, but can't find something as early as a mammogram could. So the self-prioritizing, I have been, like, listen, that lesson has beat me in the head and I'm good with it now. I'm like, oh, I got it. Don't hear me no more. I'm good. I got it. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do it well. And I'm going to try to help other people do it because it's so vital, right? And you're the only one who can do it. So if you leave it and expect that it's just going to handle itself, you're wrong. It's not going to handle itself. You're going to end up with a problem. And I don't know what the problem's going to be. It's not necessarily going to be breast cancer. For a lot of women, it is. But for men, it can be prostate cancer. For men, it can be hypertension. For men, for all of us, it can be hypertension. For all of us, it can be, for all of us, it can be any of the many diseases you can go down the list in our society and say, here's the number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 killer, right? We're all susceptible to most of those. And there are reasons that they happen. They don't pop up out of nowhere overnight. They develop slowly over time under the radar because you're not doing the right things or you're failing to do the right things, right? You're doing not enough of the right thing and too much of the wrong thing. And so now there's this perfect soup you're mixing, and this is what the outcome is. And I know a lot of people dealing with illness right now, arthritis, PCOS, all these kind of small seeming diseases, but there are stops on the process to the bigger stuff. And there we can do along the way to mitigate those problems, to completely get rid of them, and to take better care of ourselves in a preventative way that can just make it all not you have to deal with.
Well, I appreciate your honesty. And
question.
No, that's fine. I appreciate your honesty. And, those are some of the things that glad we have this platform, because we need to talk about, you mentioned men's health. We haven't quite broached that. We did have a spectacular young man last week who spoke about his mental health journey and survival. Was very, very powerful. But we do need to continue on with that. Jean, questions for Ms. Ananda?
Well, she answered the lifted question already, so I don't even know what to say now.
I talk for a living, right? I don't show. My gosh.
She knew what was coming. She was like, shoot, I'm gonna hit them before they can even ask me.
Well, I definitely have some more. I'm gonna give Brother Tyrone an opportunity. Is anybody, any of the family here talking, chatting, commenting?
Yeah, folks are talking. I'm trying to move back and forth through Facebook and YouTube right now. But we do have someone that just made a comment that yes, women's bodies are definitely incredible. So wanted to mention it. Thank you for saying that. But then we have someone else who asked us, what is the most important advice you would give to a woman who may be currently dealing with breast cancer now?
I would say to make sure you are doing your own research into all the options of handling it that you actually have. Because the first thing that I experienced with conventional medicine, that I'm not knocking, it just wasn't the way that I chose to handle my issue. But one of the things that I would adjust about conventional medicine, although they do amazing work and they are saving lives, is that they try to scare the hell out of you to get you to do what they say they want you to do and what they think is the right thing to do. And fear is never a good place to make a life-altering decision from in any category of life, but especially not your health. So if you are in a doctor's office and you are afraid, that is not the time to make a choice about what you're going to do. The time to make a choice about what you're going to do is when you're calm and thinking clearly and not inhibited by the stress that fear floods through your body. And that usually is not going to be in a doctor's office. I just talked to a friend of a friend who was recently diagnosed, and she shared with me her experience in the doctor. I talked to a lot of women who are diagnosed. So I guess I would first say, if you're recently diagnosed and you want to have a conversation with me, I'm not one of those people that's like, it's going to cost you $80 to have a conversation. Just and me, I will get in touch with you. I've talked to many, many, many women in this situation, not to give you advice and not telling you what to do with your body. That's your choice. But I can share with you what I know. And what I know now is way more than what I knew when I got diagnosed. And I would have made way different choices in the beginning if I knew what I knew now. So I'm wide open to having those conversations with women. In fact, I'm working on an ebook about breast cancer from my perspective, to be able to share with especially other brown women, other women of color who are going through this, because we traditionally do not get served the same way in the medical system as our, Caucasian counterparts. And it's unfortunate, but it's the reality. So we have to start to serve each other and start to help each other with what we know. So you're not just out there blindly trying to figure it out like I was. That said, DM me. But let me go back to what I was saying. Like, seriously, I want to be a resource to these women. I remember how it felt, you know what I mean? And no one who looked like me was like really out here talking about it or telling me a different way to go. Everybody was like, well, just do what the doctor says. I'm like, I don't want to do that. That sounds crazy to me. Like, why would I poison my body more to get rid of, does it make sense, right? I understand it differently now. And I will say that I have a lot of respect for the doctors who work in conventional. I have a lot of respect for what they believe is the right way to handle this. And I also believe that they don't have all the information. They're not allowed to look at all the information. They're only allowed to understand what they understand. And there is literally, they understand a quarter of what it is. And there's 3/4 more that, as your own advocate, as the patient, need to be open to and looking at so that you can make informed decisions for yourself, because you're the only one who's going to live with the consequences of whatever path you go down. And there are consequences either way. But you have to choose what level of consequences you're willing to live with and get a real understanding of what's going on in your body, which I think is where conventional fails. Like, they just want you to shut up and do what they say. And I am somebody who is not going to do that. I need to understand what's going on. How did this happen? What do I do? Like, what is the process my body started getting, how did I get thrown off? How did I get starting this process? Because your body is actually making the cancer, right? Your body is doing, it's a reaction to something. It's a consequence of, it's not alien seeds being dropped out of outer space. It didn't come out of nowhere. There are things that are happening in your body. There are processes that are taking place, and every process in your body can be impacted by you doing something, whether it's as simple as working out, whether it's as simple as drinking more water. Do you know how many things could be mitigated in our body in terms of problems by just getting enough water and not getting as much soda as we're getting, or whatever other sugary drink? Do you know the effects of the body days if you just cut out the sugar? Like, unless you understand the basic functioning, the basic order of operations in your system, for me, it was a bad choice to just start tinkering with that system even more and messing it up. I don't even understand how I got here. Let me understand that first. And so, I use the analogy of a car a lot because it's very similar to a car, except we don't take as good a care of this machine as we do of that one. We don't expect our car to run on gas on empty for long, right? When you see that gas light come on, you know there's about to be consequences, like your car shutting off in the middle of the freeway if you don't go do something about it. Because we're in living, breathing, intelligent machines that know how to repair themselves and can do a lot, right? Even though we're treating them bad, they can do a lot to repair themselves. We feel better. We take it for granted that, oh no, everything's okay because I didn't actually run out of gas. That's because your body stepped in and helped you out. Doesn't mean that there's not something you need to do. It doesn't mean that you don't need a trip to the gas station to fill up and make, hey, oil changes, right? I change the oil of my car religiously every 5,000 miles because I know what's going to happen if I don't. But how often do we understand and know how to keep our lymphatic system clearing things out? That's our sewage system of our body, right? We basically have two fluids running through our system, blood and lymph. Water benefits them both, but we ain't got water running through our system. We have blood and lymph running through our system. The blood brings in nutrition, can help to do a little cleaning out, keeps us nourished, keeps our body going, right? That's our fuel. The lymph fluid cleans everything out. So as much stuff as you have going in, you have the waste of it going out. Every day your body is removing waste. We have 3 or 4 different systems in our body for eliminating waste. Our kidneys eliminate waste through our urine. Our liver eliminates waste and toxins that accumulate in our blood. I mean, your body is a brilliant machine, but you have to know how to work it, just like you know how to work the brilliant machine you drive around the city all day. So when you clean the lymphatic system out, the way you clean the lymphatic system out or keep it pumping, like the heart is the pump of our blood system. We know how that works. We're familiar with it. We listen to it. But the lymph system is like the stepchild over here getting ignored because it doesn't have these, it doesn't have a great pump that we can monitor. It's like very subtle. It's like, no, I have pumps all over the body. It runs from your toes to your head, all through everywhere. And there's little sewage treatment plants, like the lymph nodes are like little sewage treatment plants all over your body. And those need to be processed and pushed. The way you do that is exercise. Your muscles serve as the pumps for the lymph system. It activates the lymph pump. And so if you're not getting any workout, if you're not doing any movement, your lymph system is probably stagnating, slowing down, backing up. You're not getting the toxins out. So where are they going to go? They're going to flood into your body, right? And then the body does things like tumors to try to get some of this bad stuff together and keep it away from your body. So the things that we even look at as negative things our bodies are doing typically are the body trying to protect itself. Its main goal is survival. It wants you to live, right? It wants to survive. It's doing everything it can to help you survive. And we have to do our part to help that process too. So, I mean, literally, I could go on and on about this, but I want to make sure I answer the question. I would tell any woman diagnosed right now to start research, find out what kind of cancer you're dealing with. And so you can dig deep on that particular type. And also just in general, research how a tumor would even form in the body, because the information is out there. We're living in the information golden age, right? We all have at our fingertips a massively powerful computer called a phone, and you can do anything from it. And so don't just let other people tell you things. Go find out things for yourself. Become your own researcher, become your own doctor. Ultimately, you're the only one that's going to heal your body, because you're going to consent to whatever it is that's going to happen to you. You're the one that has to go through it. You're the one that has to deal with it. So be informed. Got
you. Someone else asks, what are your thoughts on Dr. Sebi?
Dr. Sebi, I love his philosophy. I love his thinking. I think he's right on almost every single thing I've heard him say. My only problem at this point, I looked at a lot of his products, or have his name on them, when I started in the very beginning to do cleanses and stuff. And I have a lot of questions because, as you can probably tell, I do a lot of research. And so I get a lot of information, and then I want to be able to ask questions and figure stuff out. And there was nobody who could really answer the questions for me that I had about certain things and certain products, or could something be tweaked, or, I have all these questions. So I usually go with things where I can like talk to somebody, get the information I need, and have my questions answered. And I couldn't do that quickly anyway. Maybe there's a process, but I really do think that Dr. Sebi had so much amazing information. He was one of the biggest losses we suffered in the naturopath community in a very long time, because he was so full of information. And I don't know who he, left or shared all that knowledge with, who would be able to answer those questions today. But I think reading his information and listening to him speak, I've gained a lot from and learned a lot from.
Well, I have a question. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead, brother.
I have a question. So kind of delving back into the, as a woman, as a Black woman, taking care of yourself, because you're used to taking care of the home, in a sense, taking care of the kids, taking care of the husband, the significant other. How have you been able to balance that mental health and that healthy lifestyle that you want to live, to ensure that your body is getting the cleansing and making sure that your body is staying healthy as you would like it to and need it to?
The way that
of course, your significant other wants to have health too. So, you know.
Yeah. Well, so unfortunately, my relationship didn't survive my health journey. And I out of that last year. So I wasn't able to find the balance of that in that particular situation. But it wasn't because, you know, I just couldn't find the balance. There's all kind of, you know, in relationships, it's all kind of stuff that happens. So that didn't happen. But with my child, you know, and I think in general, I can say, in the beginning of this, I really had to get selfish. And sometimes to save yourself, that's what you got to do. And as much as we are caregivers by nature, most of us, it's not, you know, the only thing women do, but I think we were chosen to do that because we do it best. And I think when we choose to do it, we're great at it. I think if society supported it more and appreciated it more, we would want to do it more. If we didn't feel so neglected and taken for granted when we're taking care of so many other people, it would be easy for us to do. So that said, I had to get really selfish and I had to prioritize my health above everything else. So the health of my entire household changed when I changed it for me, right? So what I would allow to be brought in the house was different. That's not to say when I'm on a diet, everybody has to be on a diet, but I'm certainly not going to subject myself to pizza when I got to sit here with steamed veggies and you know, not the quinoa. You know what I mean? Like we're not doing that. So when you love somebody and you see them going through something, typically you want to support them. And I've seen even, you know, husbands, significant others, kids join in on the whole regimen that the mom has to do. And so that kind of support is just beautiful to see. And it's important when you're on a journey and you have to live around people and you have to still do what you need to do because your life depends. I think we take it less seriously when it's just, you know, the way our body looks. Sometimes we go, oh, well, I'll just live with it for a while. But we don't recognize how much happier and healthier we could be. And probably the opposite, how much healthier and then happier we could be if we made the sacrifices, the discipline, stuck with the workouts, you know, stuck with the routine. And it really is not as hard as it's made to seem like it is. Change is always difficult, yes. But as human beings, we're adaptable. If we weren't, we wouldn't still be on the planet. We've had to adapt through all kinds of things as human beings. And then the smaller category, the smaller group of us, as especially African Americans or Black Americans, we've had to adapt and survive through, I mean, horrendous circumstances for hundreds of years just being in this country. So the survival part, we already know is there. It's a matter of tapping into it. It's a matter of determining for yourself that it's a priority that you want to make happen and making it happen. And I'm sure for most people with anything in your life, when you've actually committed and decided to make it happen and made the discipline piece work, there's nothing you can't do. There's nothing that'll stop you from getting where you want. There's not only you. You're the only one that can stop yourself from getting where you want. I've learned that the hard way. And if I was standing in my way, I had to look at it with myself and go, no. If I don't survive, I can't be a good mom. If I survive, I can't be a good wife. Right? So prioritizing yourself is extremely important. And it's one of the things that made a difference for me. I had to really be clear and set boundaries with the people around me. Like this will not be happening. This will not be happening. Here's what I'm doing. I would love you to support me. And if you don't, that's okay. You don't have to back up because you're not going to be right here not supporting me. You're not going to be right here not loving me right. You're not going to be right here causing me more stress. I'm not loving myself when I allow that. Right? So if we all start with the self-love, everything falls in line around it. And some things are going to have to get sacrificed if they choose to be. And so I think that's extremely important. And it's really hard for women, especially to do, but it's vital that we figure out how to do it. And if you're a man with a woman going through stuff, the best way you can support her is not by trying to help her, tell her what to do and determine it. Get on the computer with her and do some research. Do some research on your own and bring her information you found. Cook a meal for her that's in line with the way she needs to be eating because you figured it out. Like, do the things that really give her what she needs. Because love is important, but the showing of love is the most important thing. It's a verb.
Yeah, love is an action word. So absolutely. I didn't mean to cut you off. Quick question. So can I bring her some alkaline water? Like, what's your take on alkaline water right now?
Oh man, it's horrible. I just had this conversation over the weekend. I'm not an alkaline water fan, and let me tell you why. I used to drink a lot of alkaline water. What I noticed is that my digestive whole issue, like system, did not like it. And when I finally did some research into it, I learned why. The body, again, is brilliant. It's going to regulate what it needs where, alkaline or acidic, right? Both are necessary. We get so into alkaline, we forget acidic is necessary too. You can't digest food without an acid stomach. An acidic stomach is the only way your food's going to get broken down. You can't break down food in an alkaline environment. So now you can have alkaline food, right? And you can have food that creates an alkaline state in your body after it's digested, but the digestive process happens with acidic juices. It's what's called stomach acid, right? And so when you drink too much alkaline water, and especially people, we all have a bad habit with this too, of eating and drinking at the same time. And those two things should be separate in your body. When you're eating, you should not be drinking liquids unless they're like food liquids. Like I have I just finished it, so I can't show you, but I have a veggie drink that I make every day that I can drink that with food, because ultimately it's food, right? And so if you're eating soups, that's still a food. But if you're just putting straight water in your system while you're eating, you're doing it wrong, because you're diluting your stomach acids. And if you're putting alkaline water in that system while you're eating, you're doing even more disservice to yourself and your digestive process, because you're fighting against the acidic. So now it's like you need to do a smart burn, but you're pouring water all over it. So you never get the benefit of the burn. You have to let your body digest food by itself. And 20 minutes later, some water, right? Now that means you should be chewing your food adequately enough that you don't have to, you're not trying to, do the water because you got food stuck in your throat because you don't swallow big chunks of food. We should be chewing our food 25 times minimum, 25 chews. Just try it and see what happens. Because when I tried it for the first time, my food turned to soup in my mouth, right? We have saliva in there doing its job. It's part of the digestive process. Our teeth and saliva are the first line of digestion. So they're in there breaking down food and giving you as much liquid as you need on the food. As long as you're drinking enough water in general, you'll have enough salivatory process in your glands to get the saliva out there. That's going to start breaking down your food before you even swallow it. It's going to be a soup form. Once you get a soup form of food, instead of these huge chunks of like you took a bite and swallowed, now you got a chunk of food your body has to deal with, as opposed to that. Now you have a soup consistency that goes into your stomach, and those stomach acids and the whole process in there, they have a much easier time. You'll have less indigestion, less upset stomach, less acid reflux if you get that. A lot of times that's just from not chewing your food enough. That's just from making your stomach acids work too hard, right? So again, knowing the process, why things are the way they are in the body, and what you can do to help maintain the natural order of things as closely as possible is super important.
That was excellent. Thank you.
Tyrone, unless you got something.
The only time I think alkaline water is okay is when you're fasting. When I'm fasting, I will use alkaline water. Typically, spring water is still the best water choice to me. But alkaline water when you're fasting is okay because you're not digesting any food. So if you're just living on water, then I think, you want to get the full benefits, maybe make your body a little more alkaline. But the myth of you can make your body alkaline by drinking alkaline water is just that, a myth, because your body regulates where it's acidic and where it's alkaline. So yes, the water's not going to change that in and of itself.
Mm-hmm. So you're already a filter. Where your body's already itself filter. You're right. Absolutely. So what are you, a Dasani, Fiji, Voss, Deer Park?
I'm a mountain. What's the name of the one in the glass bottle? That's the one I'm like. Voss is a little expensive and I can't find it by the case, but I use the Mountain Spring. It's like a green glass bottle. And that's because for women, drinking out of plastic bottles, and I would think this is true for men too, because y'all don't need estrogen. So, I mean, you have a little bit, but your balance is different than ours. So, but with breast cancer, I would say 60 or 70% of them are ER/PR positive, meaning that they're impacted by your hormones, right? And by hormones that influence your body. So your body makes hormones, but also you can take in hormones by drinking water that's been sitting in plastic too long. There's the whole reason they took BPA out and stuff is because it's a chemical that can really affect your body. But they're also estrogen enhancers, right, that are in that plastic that can leach into your water. And when you drink it, now you're causing your body to create more estrogen. You're putting more estrogen in your body, and that can create problems. The body is all about balance, just like everything, right? It's all about balance. When you throw the balance off, you see what's happening to our planet. When we've thrown the balance off of our planet, our bodies are little planets, little planet Earths. They need the balance too. And when you throw that off, it's really hard to get it back on track.
Oh, we're gonna throw out every single plastic bottle in the house. Throw it out. No more plastic. Thank you.
I mean, it's bad for you. It's bad for the environment. But honestly, the glass bottles are so expensive that I get it. I mean, we're working with a lot of different things to consider here. Yes, our health, but also our finances. It is so expensive to stay healthy and do all the exact right things to keep, like, you, nobody can, I can't do it. And I have really, really serious reasons to do it. And I still can't do it. So I understand why people make exceptions, right? I understand why I have to drink out of plastic sometimes. Like, if that's all I have, like, I was traveling the other day, they ain't serving water in glass bottles on the plane. You know what I mean? They're gonna serve me in glass. So sometimes you have to make exceptions because you also have to live, and you can't live with such like, if I don't do this and that. I mean, it will drive you nuts. So as much as I know, I also understand that we have normal lives we have to live, and they are governed in a lot of instances by how much income we have and what we can access as a result. So I would say to not have to spend an arm and a leg on glass bottles all week. Like this case that I buy every 2 weeks is like $25. It's ridiculous to pay for. I don't think we should be paying for water anyhow, but that's like paying for air, but that's another story. So what I would do instead is get the triple osmosis filter that goes under your sink at the point of entry for your sink water, and be able to drink out of your tap. You know, I think that's a reasonable compromise. Also, those filter jugs are a reasonable compromise. So you take that tap water that you pay for anyway, and you filter it and make it drinkable. Right now, tap water is not drinkable in any stretch of the imagination, in my opinion, but you can make it drinkable by filtering it with the right kind of filter.
Man, we used to drink that thing out the hose. Go ahead, brother Will. What you got to say, man?
No doubt.
Got filtered into the groundwater too. The water was. I used to drink out the hose. I remember what it smelled like. It smelled like hose. Right. Wow, it sounded crazy. It smelled like hose. It smelled like HOSE is what I said. That's what I said.
Right. I do have one, but Brother Tyrone, were there? I would love to get our Triple Crowns Royal family an opportunity to ask or make a comment before I jump in with my question.
You can go ahead. Everyone is just here, like, again, loving it. I mean, of course, we always got a lot of thank yous. Folks was definitely loving the information that you gave about the alkaline water. Folks like thank you. And people are commenting. I know Brother John could see on YouTube, they're having conversation about the mountain spring water and like in a spring glass bottle. People are definitely talking about they do not chew 25 times. That's very interesting.
I wasn't sure either.
Yeah. So that's what's going on. People are having conversations about this now. Like, oh, I don't do that. I don't even chew 15 times. So they're engaging and going back and forth. So please ask.
I'm telling you, try it. It's almost impossible when you've never done it and you count out 25. You feel crazy by the time you get to 25. You're like, dang, I can't believe that's the minimum amount. And then you realize
it's hard for me. If my food get mushy, then I don't want it.
I was gonna say that. That's a deterrent.
Not really that dude. I don't swallow whole, but I ain't sway. I need.
But also, I would imagine though, if you took your time to, and I've never done it, if you chew that many times, you're not gonna want to eat the rest of the food.
Right. So you're automatically helping your digestive system and reducing your calories and reducing your amount. Now, we also eat way too much food. Our bodies have never had the amount of food we're giving them. No wonder they're spinning out of control and like blowing up on us, right? Like our ancestors did not eat like this. They barely ate meat because they had to run and catch it and kill it and cook it themselves. You ain't doing that. They had many around them that they could cook, including some fruits that were in season that would grow on a tree, but they fasted a lot. Mm-hmm. There was no light at night, right? Their bodies were in tune with the circadian rhythms of the sun and the moon and the light we're supposed to have access to. So now we have all these bright lights around us all the time. Like we're throwing everything off and we wonder why we're sick. And even if you're not sick with something that has a title, you aren't feeling your best. How's your energy level? How's your ability to just get through the day without 2 and 3 cups of coffee? Right? If you add alcohol to this mix, which I used to be a big drinker, when I was drinking a lot, I would be exhausted the next day. And there's a reason for that. You just poison your body. And it tastes good and it felt good, but it's poison, right? So I understand it. But at some point, we have to get some sanity and some balance back. I'm not saying don't do the things you want to do. I was also a smoker. Nastiest habit I ever had in my life. I smoked like a pack a day for 12 years. You would have never known that, even though it was during the times I was at MTV and a little bit from at BET. You never would have known it because I was a closet smoker, but I had nasty, nasty habits. So I don't come at this conversation as a person who's like, oh, I'm perfect. I eat great. I've never done anything wrong and my body's in good. No, I come at this conversation with, listen, I've jacked my body up and I've gotten it back in good health. And so just because you've done things wrong doesn't mean you can't start to do them right and start to turn it around. And I'm not even saying quit altogether. I'm just saying if you're going to do all those things, you even more so have to do at least some of the good things in your body to make sure you're giving it what it needs while you're asking so much of it. Because if you're going to abuse it, you got to make up for it a little bit. I don't want to take fun. Shoot, I had that fun too. I'm just saying there's balance.
Let me jump in. I have to ask this question because you touched on it a little bit about public perception.
Yeah.
When I look at your platforms, and I've said this to you, and I want folks to know that if you think you know Ananda, like you said, you're only getting a glimpse of her. If you go to her platforms, you'll see just how ingenious she is. And I'm asking about public perception because I want to know, have you always had that ingenuity? You know, I'm gonna let the folks go to your IG page and check out what I'm talking about. But all the things I've seen you do and say, I'm like, oh my, I never would have even thought about that. But you as, like you said, MTV, BET, TLC, oh, that's Ananda. We never get the glimpse, you know, the ingenious part, you know, or the things that the artist has that makes them different outside of what people see. So I guess I'm asking you, has it always been that way? Have you always been a different type of thinker, or have you grown into that?
I mean, I think both. I think I definitely always had the raw materials of it, right? But they've evolved over time like everything else, like it's supposed to. I know back in the day when I was doing like BT, MTV, all that during that whole time, I was into tools and I was building stuff like in my apartments or in my house, you know, but it wasn't what TV was about with me, right? Nobody was asking me about that on TV. So I wasn't sharing that part. It wasn't popular at the time either. There was no HGTV or any of the networks that, I mean, I guess I could have started them had I really been ingenious, but you know, I was just doing what came naturally for me. And honestly, my grandmother was the first person to put a power drill in my hand. I was this, you know, not obnoxious, but I was a real rambunctious kid and I would break things a lot. And she was like, nah, in my house, if you break it, you fixing it. Because I know you don't have no money to buy it. So I'm going to show you how to take this screw and get the table leg back on. And she did. And the more she showed me how to do stuff, the more, like as a little kid, I might have been 7, 6, 8, you know, somewhere around there. But she was showing me these things. And it taught my brain in an early stage how things work mechanically. And I think I have a very mechanical mind. Anyhow, I really understand how I can take things apart and put them back together. Like I'm that kind of weirdo in my head, right? And in school, in fact, I took a VCR machine apart because tape stuck. And I took the tape out and even tape apart and reset the tape with a piece of Scotch tape, put it all back together, screwed it all back together. And we kept watching a movie. It was like 7th grade or something. So I've always been able to do stuff like that. But my grandma gave me my love of tools. And I think my brain and seeing how things work and being able to fix things has always been a part.
Go ahead. Somebody.
It was amazing, impressive, but yeah, there's always those unknown talents, right?
Yeah, but seriously, if you go to her page,
yeah,
I mean, what did you catch me with? You used the back tire of the Jeep to flatten the boot because the boot wasn't acting right. I'm like, what? And look, let me tell you, Ananda, I'm pretty sure Tyrone is like this. But JP and I are sneaker and shoe heads. Okay. So when I was like, wait a minute now.
I can break sneakers. I refuse to let an inanimate object like a boot give me a callus. Like, hell no. Nah. So my foot, boo. So I'll mess you up before you mess me up. So because I love boots, and a lot of them that I love are really hard in the toes, right? And it's too much, and it rubs against that part of your foot, either on the toe or the little toe or the big toe. And now you got a big knot on your foot. No, thank you. I'm going to widen that out. And that's why I ran it over, because I would stomp on it and try to, push it with things, but it's so rigid with whatever they put in, level of cardboard it is, that I couldn't break it. So I was like, I know what can break it. I've always driven big trucks. I'm a big truck girl. I will not drive in cars. I don't even like riding in cars, really. I feel like somebody like me in a big truck is going to come run me over. I want to be in a big truck. I want to see way ahead, and I want to be in control of the whole, I'm a control freak a little bit. So I want to, so that said, I've always had a big truck, and I've always done stuff with my trucks. Like I'll haul people out of the mud, or I'll drag a bobcat home and, be able to dig out the backyard. I've done a lot of stuff, and trucks keep me able to do whatever I want to do. And when I figured this thing out about the boot, I was like, oh, I got to show y'all this. Because you can run over a boot car. I mean, you still could do that. I would cover it like the finish on, cover it with a towel.
All right. Now I'll ask you that question offline. What is the truck? Because I'm intrigued. We don't have to say the brand online, but I got to know what that vehicle is. It looked pretty slick. Anything from the Triple Crowns Royal family, Brother Tyrone? You're on mute, my brother.
My apologies. I'm laughing. People are laughing. They are loving. Folks are saying, hello, nice to see you. You're beautiful. You're still very beautiful. I think people are just sitting here and intrigued by the information. Of course, I actually did see a question. Yeah, I'm probably going to steal your question, John, for you. But it was a question. What does Ananda recommend about physical movement throughout the day, on flights and at the office, etc.?
Great question. It was on my book.
I was literally just on a flight. I got off a flight at 1:00 this morning, and I was crammed in the sardines. It was the last, ticket I could get. And I was like, just give me any seat, whatever. And I was in between one of them 4 seats. First of all, in the whole coming out of the pandemic, they're making you stay 6 feet apart in the airport. And then they was like this next to me in the seats. I'm like, what happened to the 6 feet? So I'm no longer in danger. Okay. This lady breathing on me. What's going on? Everybody have
Don't get me started. Don't get me started.
Right. So I'm sitting there. It was a 5-hour flight. And so I'm sitting there. And one of the things I'll do, I wish I could show you, but I can describe it to you. So if you're sitting down, a lot of people sit in an office chair at a desk all day, right? A lot of people work from home now, but some people have gone back to work. I suggest you getting this big exercise ball that blows up. I would grab mine, but again, it's over there. I usually have that where I'm sitting now. I sat on this instead because I'm always moving around on that. I didn't want to do that during the interview, but it's a really great ball that has sand in it, and you blow it up, and then you sit there and you can bounce. You can like kind of do squats. You can just keep your body in motion instead of just sitting still. And what happens when you sit still is your blood flow slows down, right? It's not able to move. And if you're sitting still and you have this bend in your leg, now you're creating this difficulty for your circulation to happen. And a lot of times ankles will swell up on flights because of the lack of circulation. So what I did was put my feet flat on the ground and sat up as high as I could. I just kind of got to the edge and I sat there, and I just did little pushes up. Like with my butt, I would just lift my whole body a couple of times. And that just helps to pump your blood. I mean, that's really what you want to do, is get your blood circulating. So if you don't have something you can bounce on, you just use your own muscles, which are, we have them to use them. You use your own muscles and you just pull up, or you lift your legs. You do like knee raises just from sitting right there. You raise your knees if you can't get out. They don't let you walk around and stand around planes like they used to because of security reasons. And so I used to be able to walk up and down the aisle if it was a really long flight, or stand up and stretch. Now, when you get up and go to the bathroom, you do have a couple of minutes in there. You can, get right outside the bathroom door and just give yourself a stretch and let that oxygen kind of flow through you a little better. Take some deep breaths, and you can do deep breathing while you're sitting there as well. But I really suggest that leg lifting, and you can feel when your blood starts to move, and you can feel when it stops. When you've really blocked it, what happens? Your limbs start to fall asleep. Mm-hmm. You lay your arm the wrong way, trying to go to sleep, the whole arm goes out on you, right? Mm-hmm. You sit too long and your feet could fall asleep. Your legs can fall asleep. So you can feel it when your body needs movement, and all you have to do is start to move it. Anything you can think of, you can do. Now, also, if you have stairs at home, you can use those stairs, take them 2 at a time and just climb them, and then go back down and climb them again. You know, you can use everything around you to get a little bit of workout in. The goal is to get yourself out of breath a little bit and to sweat a little bit. The sweating is your body being able to release toxins. Sweat really does pull out a lot of the junk in your body that would normally get stuck. If you're never sweating, that stuff is just sitting there, stagnating, right? So you want to use that elimination system as much as you can as well.
Wow. Brother Tyrone, anything else? That was one of my questions is, you know, entry level, easy, like you said, and I really appreciate your honesty, because there are a lot of people in the beginning, different stages of their health journey.
Yeah.
And again, public perception, they'd see someone like you and say, oh, she got it made. She probably got high metabolism, X, Y, and Z. But they don't know that it took you a while to get to the place where you are. And some good entry level, easy exercises are wonderful for everyone. Brother Tyrone, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Bad choices, experience the consequences of, to really decide to get it together. You know what I mean? So I'm not perfect in that sense either. I'm not perfect in any sense, but I agree with you. A lot of people look and say, oh, well, you're this and you're that, so it must be this. No, you can't assume anything about anybody, and you never know what somebody's going through or doing or living with or processing. You just don't know. That's why, you know, us being human to each other is so important. Just being a good human. That's your job.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Jean, unless you have a question, we are getting at the end of our show, and we're gonna. Did you have anything? Look at Jean. Hey, Tyrone, look at Jean.
Hey, you just hit everything. Like, no, I appreciate everything that you said, all the information. I think it's very valuable. And I hope everybody that's on this journey is able to take away something from it and incorporate it in their lives. I really thank you for being here and sharing that. And we would love to have you back. Plug. We'd love to have you back.
I feel like I owe you from that last time when I completely stood you up. And, you know, I already did that whole apology thing. I know we passed that, but I just need to acknowledge it while I'm here in person. I really do apologize. It's so not like me. And hopefully you can tell that. But, you know, stuff happens to everybody. So it was a heck of a day.
No.
Look, we all have a life.
Yeah.
And we understand that. And there's nothing further that needs to be said about that time frame. We understood. We understand. We have kids and we get it. And I mean, you went way above and beyond. I mean, if there was a gold star, you know, but it's just, we appreciate you and we're humbled.
Yo, we don't have the time, and I want to respect Ananda your time, Tyrone and Jean.
My son just started his piano lesson downstairs. You want to
Say
go
no
longer?
more. All right, so I got to break this down for the people that do not know. So first of all, Ananda was cool enough to hit me back and say, "Yeah, I'll do the show." Had a snafu, overbooked, double booked, whatever happened. Man, I'm driving home. Jean, I told you, Tyrone, I'm driving home. My IG is going, it's going off the meter. And I'm trying to call Ananda. I'm like, I hit Tyrone up, couldn't get him. I hit Jean, couldn't get him at first, hit somebody else. Jean ended up calling me back. I'm like, yo, look at IG, son, look at IG. So what's funny is, you know, you don't owe us, because just by you, I did not expect that you would get on and say, I made a mistake. I'm sorry. Then you put my name in, you know, on your channel. So you know, that brings us traffic, that brings us followers. A lot of your village, I hope they're watching. I have been talking to the people that support you. Most of them that I've spoken to are fantastic. This had to be this little old lady that was like, Mr. William, you said that, this is all in text, so it's in my head. You said that you was a person of the Bible. Now you need to forgive her. I'm like, yes, ma'am. We talked it out. You know, it's all good. It was no problem. I was like, yo, these people go hard for Uganda, which is beautiful. But
so grateful for that.
Like Sean said, you didn't, you know, a simple apology was fine, and it was cool, and everything else that you did. And then you did another spot for us. And so that helped us, and it kept our show, you know, on the minds and thoughts of people, and people were following us. So, you know, we appreciate you. And honestly, like to have someone, in my opinion, of your magnitude come and do this show. We got people that don't have your prowess, let's say, not calling us back, not hitting us back, and all of those kind of things. But I think more importantly for me is that you reflecting the honesty. that a lot of people need to hear. They see people on TV or wherever they think they know them from, and they have a perception and they don't know anything about their lives. And so thank you for being here and sharing that truth for women, for Black women, for brown women, for us brothers and men and parents. It's been wonderful. So thank you. Brother Tyrone.
It's important to me that people remember that you're responsible for the kind of person you are, not what the circumstances of life try to get you to act like. Regardless of what's happening, you're responsible for how you respond to it. That determines your character. That's about who you are. What somebody did to you, that's on them. Mm-hmm. How you respond back to them, that's on you, right? And when you have your ego in the way, you can't see when you need to apologize. You can't see when you made a mistake. You can't see when it's your turn to be wrong, because we all take a turn at that. Nobody's always right. Nobody's always wrong, right? It's all bad. And when you refuse to really step into those moments and do your part in making them right, you do yourself a disservice. So as much as my apology was for you and genuine, because I am not someone who stands people up. That's, to me, like I said, is one of the worst things you can do to somebody, to just not say anything. Yeah, I get how things happen, but say something, right? And because I just stood you up, which was a complete oversight on my end, me and the calendar did not get along, and anyway, so things happened incorrectly on that end. And then the domino effect was that I never even got a reminder or anything. It wasn't even on my calendar. So, but when I recognized and realized what it's about me apologizing as well. Like I'm apologizing to you, but I'm apologizing for me, because I have to live with myself. And I have to look myself in the mirror, and I have to be a model for my son, and I have to be who I want to be in the world. So I take every opportunity when I recognize that I've done something wrong to try to make it right. And I just encourage people to do that. I mean, you don't have to be religious to understand that Jesus and Buddha and Muhammad and all the great masters that came to teach us something basically came to teach us similar things, right? Being a good human. We are responsible for and to each other. If we can love each other, right, in the most unconditional sense of the word, we can really create the kind of planet we want. But it isn't about me telling somebody else what they need to do and not doing it myself. It's about me showing it, right? It's about me actually demonstrating what that means, just like they did. They came here and demonstrated it. That's why we have stories and books and Bibles and Qurans left to tell us the stories of what they did. Showed us how to be human in the best sense of the word, right? And it's not enough to have money and not help people with it. You're cursing yourself. You know what I mean? And not because someone outside of you is going to curse you. It's because you have to live with yourself at the end of the day and beyond the end of this day, right? Who you are, you take with you when you leave this body. And I think that's why we have all these stories of people saying, oh, my life flashed in front of me and all these. You're going to review what you've done. And I want to know in my review that I've done my best. And my best isn't just these broad, sweeping, big things. It's in the everyday little things too, right? It's every moment that I can. And so I appreciate you accepting that apology. And I'm glad that I was, I made up in my head a whole thing like, oh my God, he's so mad at me. And I stood him up and I made all that up in my head. None of that. If you hadn't said anything to me to make me think that was my own guilty conscience, right? Going, oh my gosh. But I'm really happy we got to not only resolve it, but to represent to people how to resolve something, right? Because we don't see that enough. And so we have people that have no idea what to do with either their anger or their grief and disappointment in themselves or someone else. And all they know how to do and all they see is hit them. All they know how to do and all they see is go kill them. You're mad at them, kill them. What? I mean, we're really seeing that happen in our society. We're seeing the fruits of bad training. We're seeing the of not having enough of an understanding of how to peacefully process normal emotions and regular things that happen to people all day long. We go to extremes because we don't know what else to do. And so to model that for each other is really important when you know how to do it. I mean, I only know it because I've seen it modeled, right? So we pass that along. And I hope that our experience in resolving that gave people an idea, just, yet another example of how to handle something, because it's so important. With all the craziness we're dealing with, it like fundamentally boils down to individuals, no matter how big collective the problem, even like huge things like racism, all of that boils down to individuals who are poorly trained and haven't learned any better.
Mm.
And so we have to start helping to train each other differently, at least show somebody a different way. And if they choose it, that's on them, but you did your part by showing it.
CeeLo, absolutely. And especially I think within our communities, when we're talking about brown people in a public, especially in a public sphere, we know what goes on, but the perception is that, like you said, it's violence, or or it's death, or it's some kind of deviation from beauty, and that's not the case. Final thoughts, Brother Tyrone. Peaceful journey to the people. John, we'll close with you, and then we'll have Anand say some peaceful things as we end.
I just said.
So that I want to thank you again for coming and reminding me personally on my health journey. I've been celebrating 12 years of being a single dad, and it's just being me and my kids. And in that, I definitely took on nothing but a nourishing mindset, and everything was all about them. And in the more recent years, in these latter months, dealing with some health issues, is like, dude, like, you completely forgot about yourself and didn't do things that you needed to do, and all of the focus was on them, not even realizing that in a couple of years they're gonna be gone, and I still got me to worry about. So just thank you for that reminder, and kind of bringing it, letting people know that like self-care and self-love is definitely a part of health, and it's a huge part. And thank you for your time. Our guests, the fam, love you and enjoy you. Thank you for being here.
And thank you for reminding us that single dads are out there doing it too, and carrying the weight of the world on their shoulders. I salute you. I know the reality from my own perspective, and I'm proud of you for even taking it on. Like, you had a choice, right? These are your babies. What you gonna do? But still. So good for you. And I'm sure you're feeling and experiencing the rewards of that, because it is very rewarding. You have your baby right there thriving.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, family, we are going to say peaceful journey. Good evening. May the Lord Most High bless you, keep you, cause his face to shine upon you until we meet again. Thank y'all so much. Again, I just want to say, Tyrone to the people and John to the people, thank y'all for following, for watching, for talking about the show. Really important information. Like today, Ananda Lewis coming on, being real with us about health and the importance. But we will see you when we see y'all next Wednesday, 6 o'clock.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks
I made it.